So let's all take a seat. Get one last refill of coffee from the back. And let's sit down and hear a couple startups share about what they're doing. My name is Baron Ryan. I'm one of the organizers here. We got Ben Peralt in the back with the nice royal purple polo on. Dustin Curzon, Kirsten Anderson. And we're excited to have you here this morning. This is 1 million cups. And we've been in Tulsa for a little over a year. We were the 19th city out of the Kauffman Foundation in Kansas City. And the idea was that if we got entrepreneurs together to share 1 million cups of coffee, the growth that we could achieve together is much greater than the growth that we could have on our own. So every week we have 2 startups present about what they're doing for 6 minutes, tell their story essentially. It's not an investor pitch. We want to know what the vision is and the mission is behind these companies. And then we get to ask questions. So as you hear the 2 startups present this morning, think about what questions you have, and we'll have 20 minutes after they present to pick their brain and find out more about them and find out more about their ideas. So we're really happy you're here this morning. The first startup that we have presenting is actually out of the Startup Cup, which finished last month during Global Entrepreneurship Week. This is an idea of how to effectively store bikes so that they're safe and accessible in an urban environment. It's called Bike Barn, and Eric Moon is going to tell us about it. So let's give a hand for Eric.
Right. There it is, USA Bike Barn, LLC. I think you guys can hear me, but I'll stay close to you. You see a bicycle and you see a barn. Everybody knows what a barn is, and everybody knows what a bicycle is. And the great thing about this is everybody that owns a bicycle is a potential customer. So who is this guy? I am the wellness dude in my regular life. I'm a wellness consultant, a former teacher, and my mission is to help people move more. My job in real life is to help create work environments that are more conducive to health. One of the best ways for people to be healthy is to move more. Commuting is an issue, and bicycling is a great way to be healthy, and so why not merge the 2? So where did the idea come from? There it is. Where did the idea come from? Always say your wife or girlfriend, because that's true. Is everybody familiar with the McNally's Pub Run? 2 years ago, my wife and her girlfriends wanted to go down to the pub run. Pub run involves some drinking, and they didn't necessarily want to drive. And this is something, as a cyclist myself, said, you know what, there should be a better solution to this. But the idea was, she was not going to ride her prized road bike down to the Blue Dome and chain it to a fire hydrant behind some building. And that was the birth of the issue. So that's where it comes from. So what exactly?
It's always delayed.
Oh, okay. All right. That would help. So what do you and your bike and car have in common? I'm on a time limit, so I'm not going to field questions. Huh?
Wheels.
Wheels. Good. Well, the answer is they both get you places, but they both spend most of their time parked. Okay? Your car spends 95% of its time parked, and your bicycle is hanging in your garage. Okay? So the idea is cars have places to park, and companies provide ample parking. That's one of the things they provide for their employees. Right? Business areas try to provide the parking so they can have patrons. Bicycles, not so much. Bike advantages, it is human powered, it's not fossil fuel powered. In fact, the bicycle is still the most efficient form of human transportation ever designed. It would reduce traffic and congestion. It is much lower operating cost. Even though fuel prices are coming down, pedaling is still cheaper. And almost everyone already owns a bicycle. Okay? We don't have to convince people to buy a new product. So here's the problem. You can't really see it, but bicycle security. Okay, there's one with about 75,000 U-locks on it because you cannot protect, the multiple components on a bicycle with one lock. And you've all seen this before. Parts of bicycles chained to things where they were supposed to be safe. So the idea is your seat could be stolen, your gear is stolen, there's a lot of expensive components on bicycles, and they get stolen. My wife only rides her beater someplace. The beater is the bike that you can deal with it being stolen or vandalized. And if you'll notice, look at the red bike lockups on Cherry Street. There's 2 bikes stored there a day. Okay, I travel that every day and I watch. Look at the next time you see a bike parking facility actually in use. You won't. So here are the current technologies. You've got a mailbox, one at a time, you can put your bike in. There's the solar-powered city bike system, which is a thriving industry in Chicago, Washington, D.C., and New York. There's no reason why we shouldn't join. And then there's these very permanent bike lockers and bike racks. Now, those are great ideas if you have 100% commuting all the time, but seasons sort of dissuades people from doing that. Here's another one, a crazy sort of contraption, a lot of mechanical equipment to keep 4 bikes safe. Not a very good idea if you ask me. And then there's the parking garage version, which has one door with multiple bikes stored in it. But if you have access to that, you now can thieve or vandalize all the bikes in that unit. So once again, not very safe. So, what's the idea? Well, I love barns. Everybody knows what a barn is used for. In fact, if you're a cyclist, when you're getting close to the end of your ride, what do you say to your friends? You say, I can smell the barn, which means your horse runs faster as it approaches home. Then you've got pods, a very successful storage business, card swipe technology, and basically old school gym lockers. What do? You combine them with the portability of porta-johns and pod containers. It's amazing how no product like this exists. The center of the universe has to order 1,000 bathrooms, but no bike lockers, okay? So what is Bike Barn? It is a hybrid cross between a porta-john, a pod-style moving container that's designed to store bicycles. It is portable, visible, safe, and easy. Those are the 4 criteria for successful bicycle parking. According to Portland State University, they are the leading people on this stuff. So there it is, the cocktail napkin version of Bike Barn. That would actually sit on a tandem wheel trailer. You would order that, it would come to your site, and I can go into that a little later. Bike barns are portable bike parking spaces for rent. That's all it is. So who is the customer? Anyone who owns a bicycle. Anybody who wants to go out and do things. People that go to festivals or that go to events. Restaurant owners, bar owners, shopping districts. Okay, I would ride to Reese's and go in to get my 5 minutes of shopping if I felt like my bicycle was safe. But I don't, because it doesn't feel safe. So Bike Barn brings security to the endpoints of bicycle transportation in a fee-for-service model. I have a very intricate business plan for it, but once again, we're on a time limit. So any company that has parking areas for cars that provide safe, they can now provide safe bicycle parking for their employees or patrons who ride. Imagine a restaurant that provides a discount for people that pedal. 1 minute to go, just like they do for those that drive. USA Bike Barn reframes the idea of bike security. It's scalable, adaptable, it's green, and it's trending. We are one of the furthest cities behind when it comes to bicycle commuting, which gives us an advantage because we can make a lot of progress very easily. So, what does Bike Barn need? Let's talk about it. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
All right, now we're going to open up for Q&A. So if you have a question, get my attention, and then I'll pass the mic around. Okay, go ahead.
Does the Bike Barns have space for adult trikes? Like I own a trike myself. Is it wide enough to?
Well, it can be. In fact, there are hybrid versions where stroller barn, if you're going to go for an area, one trailer can actually have larger modules down to smaller modules. And so a mom could put her stroller in there, or if you had a trailer for your bike, one unit could be larger for storage. Okay?
So I have a question about the manufacturing side of it.
Okay.
What's your plan for making these? How are you going to make them? Do you have contacts for that?
We do.
Materials, things like that.
One of my advisory board members is a manufacturing expert. They already do rail car conversions. It's called ISI out of Tulsa. Bike Barn is a 16 to 18 gauge metal that's just fabricated. So in essence, a couple of fabrication machines. It's very simple in terms of it's not a brand new revolutionary product. The products that do the locking mechanism are already out there. It's just combining. So if you imagine an old high school football locker, large enough to hold all of that equipment, imagine holding your road bike in there, which is typically less than 22 inches wide and vertical that way. There would be a hook inside, so you would hang it on the wheel, and then there would be another hook for your helmet, your or backpack and other items that you wanted to store in there safely.
Okay, question in the back.
So I understand that the festival or the shopping center rents them from you, but then as a user, do I then pay to use the space, and is that automated, or is that something that you have to have an attendant to manage?
Great question. The idea is there are 3 versions of Bike Barn, meaning there's a weekend version, which is basically a valet-operated large unit trailer that will hold 50 bicycles. You would simply come up and it would be a coat check. Now, it depends on the vendor or patron. If a restaurant district wanted to promote this, let's say Blue Dome and McNally's group and Blake Ewing got together, they said, we're going to provide it, we're going to make bike parking free. That would be, the cost would be on them. But if they said, let's say Center of the Universe, where you're not allowed to take materials into the facility, they may say, please provide this third-party service, and yes, you would use a card swipe. Situation where your debit card would become the key, you would simply open the door, you would rent it, and then your key would reopen it, and then it would be available again. So the idea is there's 3 different models, all depending on the situation. A corporate version is, let's say you take Bike to Work Week is May 11th through the 15th. So let's say a large company downtown wanted to rent this for 1 week. We would simply trailer it in, park it in the garage, anchor it securely. You now have 20 bike spaces containing 1 parking space. And the company would then either issue keys or codes that would allow free use for those. In fact, you could even put on your registration if you were doing a race or you were buying a concert ticket. You would say, please reserve me a Bike Barn on your electronic application. And then you can add that fee onto your ticket price. So there's lots of ways this can be adapted to create more patron use, depending on who the vendor is. Reese's or somebody may simply put it out there for free because they want bike riders to come to the
Okay, question over here on the
Oh,
left.
sorry.
Is there any other data as far as in Tulsa, as far as the need? Because I would always think that the issue is more of there's no roadways for people to ride as compared to parking. Like, do you have any data as far as what's happening in Tulsa?
Absolutely. In fact, according to INCOG, since 1999, we basically upped our bike road transport system from 24 miles to 114 miles. All the bedroom communities are now connected by trail systems. They're also on the books to be more of them. The idea is working toward, even the sidewalk that has to do with the park coming becomes a thoroughfare for bicycles. Now, yes, I've been in contact with the designers in the cities where they're really doing this well. Tulsa finishes 68th out of the top 70 cities in terms of bicycle commuting, and we're getting our butts kicked by Oklahoma City. Simply building, and that they even match you up based upon rivalry. They have it down to 273 people in Tulsa, bicycle commute. With 2 bike barns, we could double that. Okay, that's how bad we're doing, but the American League of Bicyclists has a tremendous backlog of information, so I've collected a lot of data, and I'd be happy to show anybody who wants to see it. But the idea is, we have infrastructure, just no one is aware of it. But the idea is, 40% of all bicycle trips are 3 miles or less. So imagine driving to Brookside, but you only live a mile and a half away. If there were a bike barn behind in the raw, you could literally park your bike there, go in, maybe shop a little, get back on your bike, and you're home. You didn't drive 5 minutes to spend 10 minutes looking for a parking space. So there are plenty of options for this to be utilized. Shopping districts, even if you imagine going to the BOK Center, a large event, you might have Tulsa State Fair, people have to walk sometimes a mile. Imagine if these were right at the gate. So there's 100 lockers. You ride your bike up to the front gate, store your bike, go into the event, get back on your bike, take it back, hook it onto your car, and take it. Wednesday night ride, there are lots of riders. They have to do something with their bicycle for the day. So there's a lot of opportunities to fit this in there, and we do have some infrastructure, but it is on the way. And remember, Tulsa responds when there's a demand for it. Right now, no one cares because no one's riding. Okay, so good question.
Okay, question
Hope I
back.
answered it.
Going back to the idea of Ride Your Bike to Work Week, would it be possible, say if I wanted to sponsor a bike barn, to brand that whole barn for my company during that week and advertise that for people to come in and ride their bike down?
Absolutely. In fact, advertising is a great way to make this a cheaper option. In fact, like a Lamar, with bicycle riders, you have a tremendous target demographic. in terms of people who are going to be doing that. So yes, the barn is the barn itself. And the reason it's a barn is it's highly visible. We know what the product is, but you can literally have the whole side of it. Each one of these barns also has a small little free bike service station where it's got air pumps. It's got the basic bicycle tools that you need to adjust your bicycle. So that's almost a free service station. And we can even have basic bicycle pieces, parts for sale if needed. So basically advertising is a major opportunity. A billboard in the Tulsa area costs $2,800 a month. Bike barn is substantially cheaper than that. A billboard in Oklahoma City goes for $6,000 a month because of Clear Channel and its dominance of that market. Imagine having a basically smaller than a shipping container, almost a mini style shipping container, but much prettier, parked in the Blue Dome or the Cherry Street or the Brookside area, or even back by One Oak, any place where you're going to get high traffic. Remember, this is where 5,000 to 10,000 people are going to be going to an event. It might just be for 18 hours. You could definitely target advertising and say, I'm going to have 10,000 views in 8 hours. So an excellent advertising opportunity.
Another question back here.
So I really admire your passion, and you have a huge vision for Bike Barn. But what's it going to take for us to see a Bike Barn, whether it's in Tulsa or in another city? What are your next steps and needs to get one on the ground?
Okay, well, the Startup Cup plan had, with the $30,000 the Startup Cup was going to generate, that was going to produce 2 prototype barns. One would be the valet model. They were going to debut spring of 2015. We could still do that. Ideally, right when riding season begins, which is the first few good days, end of March into April, the customer version, basically the individual user version, would be out in the market, and there would also be one corporate model available by that time. The consumer model, now with the locking mechanisms, it's a little more expensive, but basically, roughly, a barn is $8,000 to $10,000 to produce. It'll pay for itself in about 1 year. So the startup capital is the difficulty, and then these, since they're basically asset-heavy items, once they're built, they're basically indestructible. It can be used over and over again. So really, it's just getting them developed and manufacture. It's much more difficult to build one up. If you have an order for 10, the price goes way down, and they'll be happy to crank those out for you, versus building one prototype. So we're right at, the hiccup is what we're at is the money to build the first 2, because once the first 2 are out, then they'll continue to grow. The expansion model, a city the size of Tulsa, our model calls for 170 bike barns at the end of 5 years. That's 20 barns in 8 cities, or 8 cities with 20 barns. So very simple. If you imagine 4 large corporate clients that offer these, and then a fleet just like porta-johns or pod containers sitting in a field waiting to be deployed on the weekend. So if you had an event that was on Saturday, we drop it off Friday night, it gets used, we pick it up Sunday morning, and then it goes and can be recycled again. So did I answer your question? About $10,000 per barn is our starting cost.
Okay, question over here.
So we've heard a little bit about they can rent them out or they can buy them.
Lease them.
Lease them. Okay, that's what I was going to ask. What's your revenue model? It sounds like they're going to take. Is it $8,000 to $10,000 for a consumer to buy, or is it your cost of manufacture?
Well, most corporations don't want to get into another operation model, so $500 a month, $500 to $750 a month would get you a barn for a year to 6 months. So really based upon that long-term lease, that would include the service, the delivery, and all the maintenance that is required. If a corporation wants to do that, then that's on them providing that service. Since I'm in the wellness business, it's an easy spend there. On the consumer model, I haven't had people flinch. I've had people say, I pay $25 for the full day. Typically, it's like a $5 initial rental and then $1 per hour after a 3-hour, depending on how you wanted to do that. But the revenue model typically ends up being about a $10 a day rental. But that seems to be no problem for people that own these bikes.
So you're going to lease them out as opposed to I give you 20 grand and I own it, it's mine.
Right. Right now,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, question
But if
right
there's
here.
a sales component where we just build in one time, then we're open to that.
Just a sort of quick thought and reaction to what you said. $10,000 really isn't that much money to test your concept. Is there a company that you could get to sponsor your first prototype that wants a bike barn to get one out there and to have something?
Well, yeah, ideally we would like to make a corporate sale first to say, yes, we would like one by March, then we can probably do that, but I'm not made of money, and that's why I'm here. I mean, that's why I entered a contest. If it's not that much money to some other investor, then feel free to step forward.
Zach, you had something you wanted to say.
The revenue is confusing. What I'm trying to figure out is if it seems like the goal here is to relieve a lot of pressure on transportation. That's important to me as a bicycle rider, but I'm just one bicycle rider that'd be paying $10 a day. It's not nearly as important to me as it is to maybe a city that's looking to improve transportation. So, what was the decision, or has a decision been made, why you're not targeting strictly municipalities who would purchase these from you or do a service contract?
Well, are you from Tulsa?
Yes.
Okay, well the point is, someone has to prove in the city that it works before they're interested in trying anything. And so, we think that, I mean, I'm malleable in terms of how it's going to work, but there are large California operations where these operate. I mean, if you've been into a big city, there's typically bike parking at the train station, and bus stations, and park and ride facilities, and these are sort of outsourced. Our bike system, the pink bike system on Riverside, is run by a company in Canada. There's really not much going on. Now, in California, there's basically like a Bike Pass style, where you have a card and you can rent these storage facilities, and they're all over the city. Yes, we'd love to have that, but right now, to prove it, I think to increase our commuters from 273 countable people to, say, thousands, we would need a fleet of these barns that are moving around from place to place, creating high visibility, because we don't need to ride to the same place every day except work. And that's why we need a few corporate partners to really step forward and say, I'm willing to back this. Tulsa and Oklahoma were followers. And what we need is somebody to step forward with an idea and then go, that's a great idea. Tulsa needs to come up with this. There's no other city that really has this portable. So really, I'm just at the hiccup where I'm not going to try it first. That's really where we are. So we just need somebody to be bold and gregarious about this. I'm the gregarious part. I need somebody with money to be bold.
All right, question up front.
So wellness aside, what do you think about Uber and Lyft as a competitor, partner, affiliate? It seems there's some similarities there in terms of the mission.
I would prefer a partner like Pods or Porta-Johns, who already do this service model and deliver to these events. But, I mean, those are still cars, those are still drivers, those are still, I think those waters are exciting, but I really want to get people on bicycles. Malcolm McCullum's a friend of mine, and Tulsa Tough, its mission is not to run a bike race, it's to get people moving. This is just a part of the movement. And so really that's my angle, is to try to get people on bicycles and to use them as transportation. So that's still a car model, even though it's nice and convenient, but I want to step away from vehicles.
Okay, question in the back.
Hi, thanks. It sounds like you've done quite a bit of benchmarking and looking at what other cities are doing. Specifically with Oklahoma City, do you feel like there are lessons or insights you've drawn from that could also make a program in Tulsa successful, and what are those?
Okay, well, Oklahoma City's had the same mayor for 4 terms, and so that's allowed him to actually push projects. He's been building sidewalks, and they've had a whole revamp of their infrastructure. And that has been really helpful to them because they've had one long-term vision plan that they've been able to build for. We can barely get, I'm not anti-Tulsa, this is my town, but what I'm afraid of is if you look at every city in America, they're all doing this. Bicycle ridership has gone up 80% on average in the top 70 cities in America. Places like Portland, it's a 400% increase. The bike share program in New York just doubled its rate because the demand was so high that cost wasn't a prohibitor. Chicago is now this commuter city. Washington, D.C., a bike commuter city. It's just the trend. It's just what will happen in the future. If you look to Asia, they're already doing this. In Denmark, they have a 9,000 bicycle storage unit that's an elevator. Basically, you put your bike on it and it sends it up 12 stories, which keeps it nice and safe. You hit a PIN code and out comes your bike. Now, how do they deal with a high demand at 8:05, getting off the train? It's still an issue. But they're building elevators down in the ground. This is just a step. This is one lily pad. Really, that's all this is. So, and I mean, the other parts of the world have figured out that bicycles are inexpensive, they're very efficient, and they're great for getting people places. We just need to do that. We're almost every town, I mean, every house in Tulsa's got the driveway as the center of attention. We need to move toward more human power. And I like a partner, you know, having to go back to, if a big partner like that wants to gobble this up, I'm fine with it. I don't really care how this idea gets used. I just want it to get used.
Okay, so we've run out of time. So the last question that we always ask is, what can we as a community do to help Bike Barn?
What you guys can do is spread the word saying, this is actually a pretty good idea. He's very open to change. I'm looking for partners and smart people to make this. I'm an idea guy, and I'm a pitch guy, and I'm a high interest guy. I want to go visit about it, but I can't do all the parts. So I'm an excellent collaborator, a great partner, but I don't even fit in the Thai Pros demographic. I'm moving past my prime, so to speak. So I need I can't stay up 60, 70 hours a week trying to bring this baby to life. I need partners that have that energy, desire, being part of it. Like I said, I want to plant the seed and I want to eat a few apples off the tree. But that's it. That's it. All right.
All right, so we've got a couple announcements this morning. The first is it's time for another edition of 1 Million Cups mug giveaway.
Yes.
It's thinking about showing you that slide. Anyway, you know what's happening. Scott's got a special presentation of giving away a mug.
So here's the deal.
So it is Christmas time, so this is a Christmas edition of Mug Giveaway, okay? So we are going to have a little bit of trivia for you, okay? So I'm going to say the first line of the lyrics of a Christmas song, and whoever knows the next line gets the mug, okay? That's how it works, okay? So here we go. So, Frosty the Snowman was a jolly, happy soul. Raise your hand if you know the rest. All right, I forgot one thing. Hold on.
Oh,
you have to sing it. You have to sing it.
You can't change the rules after I raise my hand.
Wait, I just forgot it. What was it? Frosty the Snowman. Oh yeah. With a corn cob pipe and a button nose, and his eyes made out of coal. I was going to give it to you, but it's not his eyes, it's two eyes. But I'll give it to you.
That was awesome. Maybe next time we'll do the whole song. So if you haven't gotten the newsletter, you're crazy. As Scott said last week, it changed his life. Email Tulsa at 1millioncups.com. Newsletter in the subject line, and you will get our awesome newsletter, which includes most of these announcements and the links that they suggest exist. So, take the Global Entrepreneurship Week survey. It's in the newsletter, and it's on our social media. Thanks, Christian. Cultivate 918 is tonight at the workshop at 3rd and Peoria. If you didn't get a chance to go to the field trip we had a couple weeks ago, this will be a good chance to see what's going on there and also meet with everybody who is involved in Cultivate 918. Is there anybody that wants to say something about something special going on? Is there somebody speaking?
They're making Christmas ornaments.
Making Christmas ornaments. Excellent. Learn to Connect is happening this Thursday at TCC. It's going to be a chance to learn about making connections, and I think we've already had a presentation on this, so you all should have some information, and then it'll be in the newsletter as well. It's important to get the newsletter. And finally, we're looking for more rock star startups, and what we mean by this is companies that were startups maybe a few years ago. They've kind of branched out from our criteria here of less than 3 years old. And we're looking to hear from people that have had successes and failures in a more long-term sense, and to learn about what they've done and ask them questions about their journey This was a suggestion we had about a month ago, that we have more established companies come and present and get questions asked of them. So if you know one of these companies, somebody who's a founder of one of these companies is still with them, or somebody that's had a company that they started, get acquired, we'd love to hear from them. Just connect with one of us, 1 Million Cups organizers, or email tulsa@1millioncups.com. Our next presenter is Marissa with Symbology. She's got a clothing line that she's designed that's incredible. She's got a lot of stuff to show us, so I don't want to say too much about it. But without further ado, Marissa from Symbology.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming this morning. I'm excited to share our story with you. And let's see here. So we're getting the video up currently. I guess we'll show the video at the end. So Symbology. Symbology is a company where we are out to make fair trade sexy. We're an ethical fashion label that fuses artisan-made textiles with fashion-forward designs for the boutique market. We envision fashion as a platform to empower the poor, preserve marginalized and dying out traditions by making them commercially viable, and to connect women worldwide. So my aha moments came to me when I was in college, and I was actually studying journalism and anthropology, and I received a grant from UNC to study women's empowerment through fair trade. So I don't know if any of you have been to 10,000 Villages, but they're a national retailer of fairly traded artisan handicrafts. And I was really intrigued about this idea of how the scarf that they're selling can actually empower this woman thousands of miles away and support her children's education and her family. So how can my shopping habits help this person so far away? And I fell in love with the art, and I just thought it was really beautiful. So that was the premise for my thesis, and I got to visit women in villages, and then the largest slum in Asia is actually in Mumbai. And I had the chance to watch these women creating handmade textiles. And I saw this woman, Gita, block printing a tablecloth. And I thought, you know what, that would make a really cute dress. And that was kind of the aha moment that we all kind of talk about, Oprah talks about. And that was the beginning. That was in 2006. Now, the issue is with fair trade clothing, this is oftentimes what you get. Not particularly chic or something you'd want to wear to work or out on a date. And that's kind of the issue, is that there's a lot of, there are unemployed artisans and sort of frumpy designs that target a limited customer, you know, kind of like a grandma kind of customer. And we love grandma, but you know, we want to also be chic at the same time that we're wearing our values. So there's a gap between artisans and the fashion market, and I think that these fair trade companies have tried to bridge that gap, but because of maybe an idea of who their target market is, or a lack of fashion-forward designs and good branding and marketing and trying to infiltrate the fashion industry, there haven't been as much of a reach. And I think that that's really what differentiates Symbology, is that we're trying to branch out and reach a more a high-end, affordable luxury market. So, this little video is supposed to play, but oh well. So this is where Symbology comes in as the solution. So we take fashion-forward designs and pair that with those handmade textiles. So this is actually a video of an artisan printing this peacock feather. And then actually this photo was taken right outside of Foolish Things here in Tulsa. And we're making, that's our maxi kimono wrap dress. Okay, and then these are just a few shots from our fall 2014 line, Shakti collection, which is a Hindi word that means female power. So we have a line of dresses and garments, tunics, tank tops, pashmina shawls that are hand printed, hand embroidered, tote bags, and kind of a wide range of things like that. And this is Asha, our main block printer. And you may get a chance to meet her if we can get the video up, because she's amazing. She's a large inspiration behind the work that we do. So why Symbology? I alluded to our value proposition that we're really taking fashion-forward designs and pairing that with unique fabrics, which from a customer perspective is creating something that's one of a kind and tells a story of empowerment, and is really special, and it's tapping into that larger market, that's a growing market that's looking for more sustainably made and authentic pieces. So our value matrix, we are kind of at the juxtaposition of triple bottom line or sustainable social enterprise with fabulous design instead of frumpy on the other end of the spectrum. And so we're aligning with these key market trends towards more customers are looking for something, looking for products that are authentic and are just kind of supportive of a more global community that's sustainable. Also a sense of discovery, that people are looking to differentiate themselves, and looking at pieces of clothing and other items as investment pieces. So looking for higher end or high quality items instead of just fast fashion that kind of runs through very quickly. Our distribution, we have 3 main sales channels. We have an online store, symbologyclothing.com. And we also sell through about 25 retailers across the U.S. We're looking to ramp that up as well. And we also do sales events, and we have a new brand ambassador program as well. So our 5-year global impact is that I'm working with 3 groups in India, and I'm starting to work with some Native American groups here in Oklahoma, the Chickasaw Nation. And I've begun collaborating with a professor at Oklahoma University, and she's working with Palestinian refugees. So I'm starting to develop some samples as well. So my goal is to be able to partner with marginalized artisans, not just in developing countries, but this is a newer kind of path for us to also work within the U.S., which I think really brings home that story of empowerment.
Okay, so we've hit our 6 minutes, but
okay.
we'll definitely be able to ask questions that will maybe help get through the rest of your slides.
Yes.
And we also have the video ready, but I need you to whisper your passcode in my ear so I can unlock your iPad. So first question while I go unlock the iPad so we can watch the video. All right, Zach. All right, if you want to talk about your next, well, let's get the video up and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Sounds great, thank you. That was very quick. Any? Yeah.
Good old technology.
I can also, in the meantime, Sally and Caitlin, would you like to come out and do a little twirl for us? So they're wearing, these are my lovely interns at University of Tulsa, and they're wearing some of our, oh, here we go, you can watch a movie. Wearing some of our new designs, and that's actually the design that Sally's wearing here, that dress, is sold on modcloth.com, and that was a big milestone for us, especially in our target customer base. It's a big website that focuses on vintage-inspired clothing. But that design is actually a henna design. So I worked with an artist in India who does exquisite henna. So I thought about how can we translate that into a block. So they actually carve these wooden blocks and then hand stamp the designs, which you'll see in the video. And then Caitlin is wearing our Flipping Zebras tunic, which I know it's not from, zebras are not from India, but I love zebras anyway. Because most of the peacock dress that I'm wearing, I pull motifs and symbols from the communities that we work with. So that's really the idea behind Symbology. And one thing I found that was really interesting from my travels and oh, there we are. There's the audio. Okay. So one thing that I thought was really interesting is the use or the commonality that I see in art. You see it in food, you see it in dance, and all sorts of different kind of traditions from very disparate cultures that there's similar representations. So chevron patterns, even representations of elephants. Elephants seem to hold a very similar kind of significance in different cultures in Africa and Southeast Asia and in India. They represent strength and honor and our auspicious symbols. So I think that's really cool because it speaks to our commonality and our shared humanity. And that's something I really want to celebrate with the line.
Okay,
So.
while
Yeah, we can
Dustin
start to
tries to get that
Q&A,
working,
sure.
I'll go ahead and take some questions. So if you have a question, then please let me know and I'll get to you. Here we go in the center.
Can we buy your product locally? Do you have like a retail?
Yes, that's a great question. I am very new to Tulsa, or as of a few months. So I'm going to, I'm selling some things at Made, the Indian Emporium. So I'm dropping that off today. And then I actually have some items here on sale that are gonna come out from their good holiday gifts. And then we also sell online and in boutiques in North Carolina, California, Texas, Louisiana, and there you go. So there's some of our line there. But feel free to browse through and you know, if you're interested in getting anything for Christmas especially, some good gifts.
Okay, question here in the back on your left.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, stranger.
What is your, I guess maybe 3 to 5 year plan for expansion, and what do you foresee your largest obstacle being?
That's a great question. My 3 to 5 year goal, and I think as of just the past few months, we've picked up 2 different artisan groups. So that's working with artisans in Oklahoma and in the West Bank, but I am also looking to partner with other groups as well. So from a production standpoint, I want to be able to impact at least 2,500 artisans. So that's what our year 5 projection is. And that's through different metrics that we've developed that. But basically, so, and I'm not going on too much of a tangent, but women invest, so I work only with women artisans, and that's really important because I see them as the key change agents in their communities. So women reinvest 90% of the income that they earn into their communities and their families. So it's not just supporting women's empowerment, but also more secure communities and more vibrant communities. And then my goal sales-wise is I really want to sell to a retailer like Neiman Marcus or Anthropology. And I would see that within like the next 1 year goal. But I think getting those sales and distribution really up is important. And that's what's going to be able to help us sustain and grow as a company. And I would also say that's probably our biggest challenge, is working on the retail side, the wholesale side. So we're really trying to up that, and direct customer sales. We found that customers are very receptive to our message, but that retailers tend to put us right against fast fashion companies that work in China, and we're trying to compete on the same price point. So I think that aligning ourselves with retailers who are also very successful is a bit of a challenge. So I do see that there's growth in the retail sector for this kind of these kind of products, but then having them be to the level where they can have the scale and the distribution that we need is a little bit of a challenge. But that's why it's really important that customers are also articulating those questions, asking those questions when they're shopping. Where was this product made? Or those kind of questions, because the retailers at this point don't think that there's demand for it, and they're not going to respond unless they hear it from customers.
We may have the video ready. Let's see what happens.
It looks really good.
there's the block printing process. You can see they're literally stamping on the patterns. Yeah. So there's some of our hand-printed pashmina shawls, and this is the block carving process. They're making the pigment, stamping the zebras, weaving the fabric. And that's Asha. She's our rock star. She's been block printing, she's been a master artisan, which it takes a level of experience to reach that status. She's been printing for 10 years. And Kamini Ben, these are her kids. She makes samples for us. She's also a master embroiderer. And then just me talking about what you guys just heard. This is me with some of my lovely interns. Yeah, we just made it. So yes, very shortly. Yes. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know how much longer.
It's not a whole lot longer. I think it kind of shows the gamut from production to the fashion elements of what we're focusing on. But yeah, I can take some more questions in the meantime because I don't know if there's anything.
Okay, we have a question up here in the front.
How did you end up coming to Tulsa, and what's the long term? Are you planning on staying in Tulsa, or what's it look like 5 years down the road?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I just got engaged last week. So my now fiance, so my now fiance got a job with American Airlines, and that's what brought us to Tulsa. And we've been really surprisingly, not hugely surprisingly, but very happy with meeting the community, and it's been really cool and tapping into these great initiatives like One Lane Cups and this community here. So we didn't really know what to expect. So I like Tulsa. I think I don't know what the super long-term plan is, but certainly worth working with Oklahoma artisans. I'll be here in one way or the other, if not like permanently. I don't know how much I can speak to any kind of permanent resident. My goal is I want to travel as much as possible and create and help to represent these artisans as much as possible and tap into these different artworks.
Okay. We have a question here in the back.
Yes.
Forgive me if I don't understand where your company is in terms of success, or if you have the market. I don't know anything about the market, but my question is, have you partnered with other nonprofits or NGOs that are working with the same mission so that you can develop some credibility by association, some brand credibility for Symbology by being associated with these other organizations as well?
Yeah, well, we have some microcredit partners, and we're looking, I think once we're in a profitability stage, so that kind of lets you know we're not there yet. I launched 2 years ago, but that we will invest 3% of our profits into those micro funds, which directly support those same women to gain more skills, so that they can also do some of the cut and sew for us and those types of manufacturing. We have been looking to partner with with nonprofits locally, like Dress for Success, which I don't know if you all are familiar with them, but they're national, with a national presence, because we're looking to really boost our sales nationally at this point. So we're in talks with them about how to cross-promote and do a portion of our sales from those events to benefit them as well. So I like working with nonprofits. I think that just as a company, I think that's one of the challenges, is that we're a social business, so we have kind of a similar mission as nonprofits, but not necessarily the same kind of access to grants and some of those types of funding. But then we're not a traditional for-profit business too. So I think that that's sort of one of our challenges and or opportunities as well.
So we have another question here in the back.
Yes.
All right, you mentioned anthropology, and we were already saying that back here before you even mentioned that. It looks like the clothes in your store would fit in great there. My question is, if you get a big order from anthropology, can you scale production that quickly with your artisans?
Right. So when I went into planning our collections and starting this starting my company a couple of years ago, I dreamed of it selling in Anthropology. So I was thinking about, and knowing that we would need to scale and have that level of capacity. So the community, that's why I chose block print, because there's a production capacity there, and that's what we really specialize in, our prints. So that whole community for centuries has done block printing. So everyone knows how to do that skill. It's maybe a matter of getting them a little bit more trained, but there are government programs in place to get women specifically sort of trained into a level of quality that they can do more mass orders. But there's the kind of inherent skill level there that we're tapping into, which doesn't require a lot more education or training like that, and there already are kind of facilities for that. So I had definitely thought about that. The challenge, I think, working in Oklahoma is that there's not a lot of artists who still know the craft. In India, and I think a lot of other developing countries, there's still that's still an integral part of the community and the economy, and I don't know if there's just, it's now kind of at a collector, that's the market here. But I think that's going to be my challenge. Maybe we do limited run items with them because there's not nearly as much capacity as there is in India and Africa and Latin America. But I really want to work with these women, and what kind of aggravates me a bit is that I look at big retailers and I can see so much Native American art in what they're selling, but there's no credit given to where it comes from, and it's mass produced in China. And I find women in villages in India wearing things that are mass produced in China that they used to make, but now they can no longer really afford to make it, so it's cheaper for them to buy it in the market. And it's a weird irony. Yes, hey,
Okay, question here in the back.
Hey,
sorry, I'll keep talking, yeah.
Kind of going along with what you just said, I was curious if you've done any research on kind of the social economic impact you have made in the artisans' lives. Just kind of give us a little background on that.
Yes, and that's something, it's at this point still, since we're so new, it's mostly, I know that we're working and empowering these probably about 20 families altogether. And I think numbers-wise it's not as impressive, but since I go there, I'm going back in January for about a month. And I think just working with those people, I know that Asha's daughter wants to go to college to study accounting. And we've given them a lot more orders, and especially by focusing just on women, saying we just want to work with women, we're giving employment to those women who otherwise wouldn't have the chance. Because I still do get a bit of pushback, saying like the women aren't as good as the men, just because they haven't been given as much opportunity. Women are at the home and taking care of kids, but I said, well, you got to get them trained, you got to give them the opportunity to do that. So I know that we're giving employment where they otherwise wouldn't have it, and we're giving them orders and money. But I think developing social metrics is important, and it's a little challenging, not like being there on a regular basis, but we're working on kind of pulling from similar companies and seeing how they develop their metrics and do that reporting. And I talk to my block printer on a daily basis, pretty much, so just trying to get that information.
Okay, another question here?
Hey, Marissa, so from what I understand, it seems like you're in an interesting place in the sort of fashion retail industry, because traditional retailers like Gap or other big retailers outsource everything in the process except for the retail, and they make a lot of their money off of the sales as opposed to the full price of their item, while like Zara is the only retailer that owns everything from production to outlet where the customer can purchase. And you seem more like the Zara up to the point that you don't have a retail store, but you do the printing, you
much
do
less
the
sales than
yeah. So that's interesting. And have you thought about maybe specializing in one element of the process, say making the fabric and selling it to a large retailer, as opposed to doing the whole value chain?
I think once we're still building our brand, and I think we had thought about that as a strategy to maybe partner with a larger retailer or even a designer like Ralph Lauren or something, and doing the lining, like doing a cool print for the lining of a blazer or something like that. So I think licensing, in a way, some of our prints, once we have a better establishment, is a really smart idea. from a business perspective. I love the fashion design element too, though, so I think that I personally want to be designing dresses. I've been told, you know, you should do scarves, it's a safer bet, but there's so many other companies that make accessories in this kind of, in this field, and there's very few who make fashion. I think we're one of the only ones in the US, so I really want to be designing, but it's a great idea, and we've thought about that for expansion.
So our last question is, what can we, the community, do to help you in Symbology?
Thank you. So I have a couple of asks, and one of them is if you're interested in shopping with us, I have some products available for sale, and they're 10% off today for this. But I think asking those questions when you're shopping about where things are made and really thinking about it yourself is an important first step. I'm also looking to hire an operations slash kind of financial or business development kind of person. I know that's like two different roles, but in a startup they're kind of together. But I would love to hire someone locally for that position. So kind of just keeping in mind that as well. And you know, fundraising is also always kind of an important thing too. So I would say just kind of help us spread the word, and especially since we're new here, could use all that support that we can. So yeah.
All right, well, we want to thank Marissa and Eric for being here today. So as a reminder, don't forget, our newsletter is life-changing. Sign up for it if you have not. It's got all of our announcements, and I will also be posting those later today on our Facebook page. Don't forget Instagram and Twitter. And Marissa is also going to be selling some of her fashion here if you want to come up and look at the end of this here. Also, as a quick reminder, since I'm going to do my little plug, Cultivate 918 is tonight at Made, which was the place that we did our field trip a couple weeks ago. So for those of you that joined us, you know where it is. If you guys need any directions, feel free to come.